Right folks, here's one that a lot of you are asking for. It's time to continue with the Peach Guitar's top 10 riffs of all time. Today we're going to focus on the Telecaster. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gents, Jack here from Peach Guitars. A lot of people have been asking for this one. If you've seen our previous videos where we previously focused on the top 10 Les Paul riffs of all time, the top 10 Strat riffs of all time, those are very hard, but this one is a whole nother challenge altogether. When we decided to look at the Telecaster, this is probably the hardest one, I would say, because in many people's books, including my own, this is pretty much all the electric guitar you ever need for any style, and that's been proven by the fact that so many players gravitate to the Tele to play all different kinds of music on. Because it's such a simple guitar design, it's just a slab of wood with usually a couple of pickups, but it could be anything on the top really. Just a couple of simple controls, very few moving parts. These make for great canvases to basically make your own, and a lot of players have done that in unique ways. So before we get into the top 10, I will just say that obviously, as was the case with the previous videos, there's going to be tons and tons of stuff that we've missed, and I'm sure you will be the first to pick us up on it. So let me know in the comments what you think of our list when you've seen it, and if you think there was something that was just so glaringly missed out that it really should have made the list. But that list is going to be different for everybody, because there's going to be players that associate Telecasters with humbucker loaded bands like Slipknot, for example. There's of course going to be a bunch of country and western enthusiasts who will be able to name tons and tons of great guitar players that I'm just not particularly well versed with. So we tried to pay tribute to a little bit of everything the Telecaster can do, but there's just not room on its list for everybody. So if you want to tell us what your top 10 would be, let us know down in the comments below. So with all that said and the disclaimers out the way, let's get into our list. So here's a riff from one of the biggest American music artists of all time, and it happens to be probably one of the most simple riffs as well, but it really just sums up what a Telecaster is all about. It's a man who's been known for playing Telecasters or Tele-style guitars for most of his career, and this riff just provides the whole foundation for this song. It's one of the biggest rock albums of all time as well that this is from, spawned many, many hits, but this is the one that basically summed up the guitar parts of the boss the best. So as diverse a genre as country is, and as diverse an instrument as the Telecaster is, if somebody says to me, country guitar players, this is kind of the lick that I best associate with the Tele sound. So this was Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, Luther Perkins on guitar back in the 50s. This was just a whole unique style that Americans are very well versed in. We kind of got a little bit of a slimmed down version of it over here, I guess. But this riff just kind of, once again, just represents the best of what I think American guitar players are able to do with Teles in the 50s. It's the sound of this guitar that made certain artists so famous. It's really stood the test of time, and it's just one of the best guitar sounds of all time. So here we go. So here's a real stadium packer of a riff that perhaps a lot of people associate with the mega distorted bass part once everything kicks in, but it's the intro guitar that really excites me, and I think excites a lot of people. Graham Coxon really delivered some of his best work. I think this song was basically just crafted as a little bit of a joke, a little bit of a jab at kind of bands that just tried to get this monstrously big sound, and yet, ironically so, Blur managed to make one of the biggest sounding records ever. So in my humble opinion as a Brit, some of the best guitar players of all time that have happened to play Telecasters were the guys in Status Quo. So you had Francis Rossi and Rick Parfitt, often playing dueling parts, but coming together to make this absolutely magical soundscape with Telecasters right at the helm. I think this is probably the best example of how great a Tele can sound when everything syncs up and everything is played right. One of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, always use Telecasters, but this song, I think, is their best Tele work. So most people will associate Tom Morello's style with very cool DJ style pyrotechnical guitar playing, usually with a Strat style guitar with a Floyd Rose. But strangely enough, when the band wanted to turn to their heaviest tunes, Tom Morello picked up his drop D tuned Telecaster with just single coil style pickups. Totally traditional, totally unorthodox for this style, and yet it worked 100% to create absolutely monstrous riffs like this one. Now, when we did our top 10 Strat video, everybody, pretty much it seemed, was commenting down below in the comments section asking for Gilmour. And I have to say that we tried our hardest to put some Gilmour in that list, being the Strat icon that he is. But riffs-wise, I always thought that his best work came when he picked up his Telecaster. There's a few notable examples, the best of which I think is this one. Taken off the Wall album from the late 70s, this was when Pink Floyd was starting to get a little bit heavier in their sound, I think. And they also had a little bit more of a commercial side to them as well. Whatever you think of Floyd though, I think this is some of Gilmour's best work, played on his Telecaster with a very signature delay heavy tone, and it just works an absolute treat, and it shows off what a Tele bridge pickup is all about. So if you want to talk about underrated guitar players for a minute, I think Andy Summers comes very, very close to the top of the list. He's one of my favourite guitar players of all time. And if you listen closely to a lot of the early Police stuff, they rely very heavily on the very clever textural guitar parts that Andy created. But he could certainly conjure up a monstrous riff when desired, and this song shows off that talent very well. So as the out-and-out victor of our top 10 Les Paul riffs of all time, there was a lot of people asking for some of Jimmy Page's Telecaster-infused creations, as he was known to kind of mix up the two in the studio and really just use whichever guitar worked best for the part that he was recording. But obviously a lot of early days Zeppelin was recorded with a Telecaster, and it's often said that Jimmy Page's Telecaster sold more Les Pauls than any other Les Paul. Led Zeppelin 1, I think, is where he got his best results with a Tele, and this is a riff that basically just shows the sheer aggression that could be had out of a 60s style Tele. With not a lot of gain. You really don't need a lot of gain with a good Telecaster bridge pickup. It's all about the attack, it's all about the ferocity, and Jimmy Page knew that very, very well. So here's a riff that came very, very close to being number one, but for one little fact. On the record, I believe it was a combination of Telecasters and maybe a little sprinkling of Les Paul Juniors in there as well. So it's not fair to say that it is out and out 100% Telecaster, but it just sounds so right on the Tele. Pretty much any pickup position you play sounds right for Keith's style. Obviously he was known to use, in later days anyway, his 52 with the humbucker in the neck. This doesn't sound like that to me, so I just kind of got the results from the standard middle position on the 52 Tele. Great, great riff, and it utilises Keith's signature tuning with that open G. Obviously he would usually take off the bottom string as well. I didn't go quite that far, but I tried to get the rhythmic swing, that kind of essence to it. It's just a great sounding riff, really, really musical, and it shows that if you've got the right crafted guitar part, it can really sound like an entire song by itself. So as is always the case with these videos, we want to throw in several honourable mentions that didn't quite make the cut. With the Tele though, this is going to be a bigger list than most, so I'm going to save the talking and get straight to the riffs. These are the ones that didn't quite make the top 10, but they're glorious Tele riffs nonetheless. Alright folks, we've made it to the end of the list. Now as I said before, there'll be several things here I'm sure, some of which you agree with, some of which you disagree with, but in my opinion, the #1 Telecaster riff of all time is so hard to nail down because it's such a diverse sounding instrument. Nonetheless, I think this riff probably runs the closest to that title. So in this one riff, I think Joe Walsh really managed to capture pretty much everything that's great about a Telecaster, with just one pickup as well. It's all around that bridge pickup. I used a Fender Esquire in this video to show you that that's really all you need. But it manages to get in a lot of the twang factor, some of the more chicken picking style stuff that he does. It shows how bright and aggressive a Tele can be, while at the same time the riff also shows what a great rock tool this is. It's got a lot of body and heft to it, there's a lot of aggression and a lot of cool swagger, which I tried my best to capture, but Joe Walsh's touch on the instrument I think is unrivaled. He's truly a master with whatever guitar he picks up. But the fact that he often gravitates to a Tele to create some of his best riffs is very telling of how great this instrument truly is. So there we go folks, I hope you've enjoyed today's Peach Guitars top 10 Telecaster riffs of all time. Very, very hard list to put together. Let me know once again down in the comments whether you agree or disagree with our choices. I think we can all agree though that the Tele is just such a hard-working beast in the guitar world. It really can do everything. Guitar players have put it through its paces in many, many different styles. It's very hard just to narrow it down to a few, but we tried our best and I think the results were actually pretty good on this one. I really enjoyed playing every single one of these. It shows just what a great instrument this is. It's got a great, great musical tool. It's got a lot of songs in this still. So I'm sure if you haven't ever tried a Telecaster before, for some reason, try one out. You'll love it, and you'll get a lot out of it that maybe you didn't expect to. So if you'd like to find out any more information about any of the guitars that I've played in today's video, then you can click the link in the description box below and head to our website, peachguitars.com. You'll be able to check out all the inventory that we currently carry, not only of the guitars in this video, but everything else that we have in stock as well. There's a ton of stuff that you can get your teeth into if you're looking for a T-style guitar. So be sure to leave a like down below, share this video with your friends as well, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and better yet, ring the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video in the future. Thank you very much as always for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.